At a busy train station, a young man stands reading a letter that has clearly ruined the start of his day. His name is Liam Theodore Battenberg, and apparently his grandmother's heart has not merely been worried by his silence, but has burned black and turned to ash entirely. She is making it very clear that his upcoming summer leave comes with expectations attached, specifically a marriage proposal from the royal family that is not going anywhere no matter how many of her letters he fails to answer. Liam looks up from the page, says, "Ah, damn it," and there is a smile on his face that says he is more amused than genuinely concerned. His grandmother has not given up. She never does. His colleague River Ross appears behind him and asks if the letter is about marriage prospects. Liam confirms it is practically an annual tradition at this point, that every leave comes with at least an engagement push or a nagging campaign telling him to start dating someone. River points out that love letters arrive for him at the Naval Department every single day, so clearly the options exist, and Liam asks him if it does not all feel dreadful and meaningless. River stares at him and says, "What?" Liam clarifies that he means love, and then he starts walking and tells River to drop the pointless chit-chat and share what his summer plans actually are. River catches up and explains he is heading to Gloucester Castle, where his uncle works as a gardener for the Somerset family. They need extra hands, and he figured doing something useful beats lazing around, and the air out there is fresh with a river nearby for swimming. As Liam listens, a memory surfaces, a colleague in the infirmary once telling him he seemed to lack any lust for life and wishing he would stop calculating everything with his head and just follow his heart instead, because something very wonderful was bound to happen if he did. Back in the present, Liam asks River to confirm his relative is in the south. River says what, confused by the shift. Liam tells him he has changed his mind and wants to join him on that wholesome summer vacation of his, and River does not quite know what to do with that answer. Meanwhile, at the Somerset mansion, two men are laughing together, entirely comfortable, entirely unbothered. One of them is a man named Baron Howard, and he is telling Count Somerset that his niece is well-mannered and lovely-faced and that he raised her quite admirably. A young woman named Vanessa Soren Somerset stands nearby with her head bowed while they discuss her like a transaction being reviewed at a market stall. Count Somerset asks if they should proceed as planned, and Baron Howard says that before the wedding he would like her chastity proven. When the Count calls that an insult, the Baron waves it off, saying a blemish product does not present itself in a second marriage, and as long as her purity is confirmed, the Count may demand whatever he likes because he knows someone with an uncanny ability to assess such things. The casual cruelty of it is staggering. Vanessa's mind pulls her back to the day everything changed, a man named Mr. Potts informed her that since the title had passed to her uncle, she had no right to claim anything regarding the estate or the family, and from that point forward, everything she ate and wore and used would be decided for her, including her marriage when she came of age. Back in the present, she is crouched under a tree vomiting. When she straightens up, she thinks that being called a product actually feels rather fitting given everything she has been through. She notices a spoiled apple on the ground, and the words blemish product come back to her with fresh weight. Then she catches the smell of cigarette smoke and wonders what anyone could possibly be doing in the garden at this hour. She walks around the tree and finds a man sitting underneath it, smoking like he has not got a single care in the world, and his name is Liam Theodore Battenberg, though she does not know that yet. Vanessa rounds the tree expecting to find an ordinary gardener, only to discover a stranger sitting beneath the branches with a cigarette between his fingers and not a single concern on his face. She has never seen him before. The moment he glances up and their eyes meet, her confidence vanishes. "Excuse me," she begins nervously, but before she can say anything else, her maid Mary comes rushing over, breathless from searching the estate. Vanessa turns to ask whether Mary knows who the man is, but when she looks back, he is already gone. The only trace of his existence is the cigarette left smoldering on the ground. For some reason, the encounter refuses to leave her mind. Days pass, yet she keeps finding herself looking toward the gardens, wondering if she will see the mysterious gardener again. A week later, her interest has become impossible to miss. High in a fruit tree, River Ross notices it immediately while working alongside the man currently posing as his cousin, Liam Theodore Battenberg. River points out that Lady Vanessa has been following him around the estate for days and clearly wants to speak with him. Liam, however, looks completely unimpressed. "Must I?" he asks. He already knows how these situations usually go. Either she fell in love at first sight or she wants to know his name. Both possibilities sound equally exhausting. River argues that it would be kinder to tell her the truth. After all, Liam is not really a gardener, and Vanessa once played with him as a child even if she no longer recognizes him. Surely that connection is worth mentioning. Liam only laughs. When River changes topics and suggests moving out of the cramped storage shed he has been sleeping in, Liam jumps down from the tree and reminds him that he is currently supposed to be River Ross, the gardener's hard-working nephew. If he suddenly starts living in luxury, the disguise falls apart. If the disguise falls apart, his grandmother hears about it. If his grandmother hears about it, he ends up trapped in a ceremonial hall surrounded by nobles and marriage contracts. Liam asks whether River truly wants such a tragic ending for him, and River immediately retreats from the conversation. You know what? I can't even argue with that logic anymore. After River leaves carrying a basket of fruit, Liam remains beneath the tree and gazes across the estate. The place fascinates him in a strange way. Everything feels slightly outdated. The artwork hanging in the halls is unimpressive. The carpets are cheap. Even the family crest is made from copper instead of gold. By every standard, he should find the estate dull and forgettable, yet something keeps drawing his attention back to it. Something about the place feels lonely. Before he can decide exactly what that feeling is, a fruit suddenly drops from above. Liam turns and discovers Vanessa standing nearby with the fallen fruit in her hands. Apparently, she has appeared so quietly that he never even heard her approach. For a moment, she simply stands there, gathering courage. Then she asks whether he would spare a few minutes to speak with her. Liam immediately claims to be busy, despite doing absolutely nothing at the moment. Vanessa ignores the excuse and says she has an offer for him. That finally earns his attention. An offer? He asks. She steps forward, holds out the fruit, and calmly announces that she would like to buy him. Liam stares at her. The world seems to pause. Of all the things he expected to hear today, that sentence was nowhere on the list. I'm sorry. You would like to do what? He thinks as Vanessa waits for an answer, completely serious. And just like that, Liam realizes this conversation is about to become far more interesting than he expected. A week before Vanessa marches into a garden and tries to purchase a man, she is sitting with the only two people she trusts enough to discuss her situation. The atmosphere is half strategy meeting and half desperate comedy. Rosaline Fabian Winchester is already suggesting increasingly ridiculous escape plans, including borrowing her grandmother's old dress as part of some disguise scheme. Her brother, Blair Fabian Winchester, looks up from his book and asks why she still owns such a thing. Rosaline reacts as though he has committed a crime simply by asking. Vanessa cannot help smiling at their argument. She admits that she misses when the three of them could joke around without worrying about marriage contracts and family politics. Then, she suddenly asks Blair whether he would be willing to publicly claim they are in a relationship. The question is shocking enough to make him immediately close his book. Since Blair is already engaged, a scandal involving the heir of the Winchester Marquisate would cause enormous problems for any marriage arrangement. Vanessa's uncle is trying to force upon her. Rosaline quickly agrees that a scandal would be useful but clarifies she is absolutely not recommending fake romance with her brother. She launches into a passionate rant about how society claims to be modern while still treating a woman's purity like a piece of property. Blair promises they will support whatever Vanessa chooses, whether she wants to run away, disappear for a while, or fight the arrangement directly. Vanessa thanks them, but she refuses to drag her friends into her problems. As she walks toward the window searching for an answer of her own, her eyes land on a man balancing on a ladder while cutting fruit from a nearby tree. Rosaline notices her staring and remarks that Vanessa becomes strangely fearless whenever she has an idea. Blair tells her to leave it alone. Experience has taught him that once Vanessa reaches this stage, nobody is stopping whatever comes next. Not long afterward, Vanessa is standing beneath a shed with her maid Mary, both of them secretly watching the man from a distance. Mary explains that he is River Ross's nephew, a petty officer in the Navy who fought in the Battle of Potsdam and recently received leave as a reward. Suddenly, he decided to spend his vacation helping with the garden work, and according to Mary, nearly every maid in the estate has been losing their minds since he arrived. Vanessa listens carefully. Something about the name River Ross stirs an old memory buried deep in her childhood. Suddenly, she can almost see a younger version of herself racing through a garden while a small boy runs after her, shouting for her to wait. The memory fades as quickly as it appears, leaving her staring at the man beneath the tree. Then a dangerous thought begins to form. If someone wants to prevent an item from being sold, the easiest solution is to damage it badly enough that nobody wants it anymore. The logic is ridiculous. It is reckless. It is completely unreasonable. Unfortunately, it also makes perfect sense to a young woman who has just been called a product by the people deciding her future. The man standing over there is someone she already knows, someone attractive enough to create a convincing scandal, and someone who arrived at exactly the right moment. Vanessa turns toward Mary and calmly tells her to head back inside because she has something important to discuss with Mr. Ross. That decision eventually brings her to the garden. Liam is standing beneath the tree with a piece of fruit in front of him when Vanessa walks up and casually informs him that she would like to buy him. The statement is so absurd that even Liam, who rarely reacts to anything, cannot immediately process it. After a brief silence, he asks what exactly she means by that. Vanessa replies that she means precisely what she said. She wants him to act as her lover for the duration of the summer, and she is prepared to pay him generously for the inconvenience. Liam studies her for a moment before telling her to skip the polite wording and explain the real reason. The playful confidence leaves her face. Taking a slow breath, Vanessa admits that she needs a scandal powerful enough to destroy her marriage prospects completely. She needs something that will remove her from consideration forever. Society values her because she is considered desirable. Therefore, the fastest way to escape is to become undesirable. The logic is brutal, but she has spent years living under brutal rules. Vanessa continues speaking, forcing herself to say the words she never imagined she would say aloud. It would be even better if she became pregnant. She promises compensation, protection, and enough money to ensure he never suffers consequences for helping her. Once summer ends, they can part ways and pretend none of it ever happened. Liam listens without interrupting. The garden falls silent around them. Finally, he reaches out, takes the fruit from her hand, and lifts it toward his mouth. For several seconds, he simply looks at her. Not with shock. Not with judgment. Just curiosity. Then he quietly asks a question Vanessa never prepared for. What happens if summer ends and you're still not tired of me? The words hit far harder than any rejection could have. Because for the first time since this plan began, Vanessa realizes she never considered what would happen if feelings became real. And judging by the faint amusement in Liam's eyes, he already knows it. Liam's question hangs between them, and Vanessa immediately turns red before insisting that such a thing would never happen. To regain some control over the conversation, she straightens her posture and informs him that he should address her properly as "my lady." Liam looks at her for a moment before asking why he would bother. If she wants respect, she should have made a better offer. Right now she is trying to sell herself cheap while paying him for the privilege. The remark lands hard. Vanessa fires back that money is the only thing she has left to offer. For the first time, Liam goes quiet. His mind drifts back to conversations he overheard while working in the orchard. Maids whispering about a baron more than 70 years old coming to inspect her. Others complaining that noblemen had been arriving one after another ever since her graduation. Someone mentioning that her uncle's business ventures had failed. At the time, it was idle gossip. Now it suddenly feels different. Now the woman standing in front of him is desperately trying to buy her way out of exactly that future. Vanessa quickly explains that she has a pension waiting for her and that if she has a child, she can apply to receive it. She promises yearly payments for 5 years and insists that if he wants more, she will find a way to earn it. Unfortunately for her, Liam calmly tells her that money means very little to him. For a moment, she studies his face. Then she reveals her trump card. She knows Mr. Ross has been embezzling maintenance funds for years. The garden accounts do not add up and she has already gathered evidence proving it. Liam listens without reacting. Inside his head, however, he finds himself unexpectedly entertained. High society has thrown every kind of proposal at him before. Some offer wealth. Some offer affection. Some want comfort. Some want status. Vanessa's version simply happens to be, "I would like to purchase you." Ridiculous as it sounds, it is still more interesting than most. He asks what an old gardener's crimes have to do with him. Vanessa looks confused and reminds him that Mr. Ross is supposedly his uncle. Liam immediately realizes where the misunderstanding comes from. Instead of correcting her, he pulls out a cigarette and lights it. Then he casually tells her that if all she wants is to spend the summer with him, she should stop making pathetic threats and simply confess her love. Even Liam knows he is deliberately giving her the wrong answer. Vanessa covers her nose against the smoke and flatly states that she does not love him. Saying otherwise would be a lie. Something about the answer irritates him more than it should. Fine, he says. Then the deal is off. Panic flashes across her face. She immediately asks whether all she needs to do is claim she loves him. Liam laughs softly and drops the cigarette into the grass. The problem is not the words themselves. The problem is that he would never know whether she was threatening him or confessing to him. And if he feels nothing for her, then none of it matters anyway. Vanessa opens her mouth to ask what exactly that means. Before she can finish, Liam steps forward and kisses her. The question dies instantly. Vanessa freezes where she stands, too shocked to move. For a brief moment, the entire garden seems to stop with her. When they finally separate, she can only stare at him in disbelief while Liam studies her reaction with equal surprise. He had intended to throw her off balance and end the discussion. Instead, he finds himself more curious than before. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, Blair Fabian Winchester happens to glance out a window and catches sight of the pair in the garden. He immediately asks the butler who the man beside Vanessa is. The butler explains that he is supposedly the gardener's nephew, a naval officer on leave helping with the estate work. Blair continues watching through the glass. Something about that face feels familiar, very familiar. He quietly instructs the butler to gather information on the man, and as he picks up his book once more, his eyes never leave the garden. Whatever puzzle is forming in his mind, he is already beginning to put the pieces together. Inside the mansion, Blair Fabian Winchester remains standing by the window, unable to shake the feeling that he has seen the gardener's nephew somewhere before. The thought keeps nagging at him until Rosalind walks into the room and immediately asks who looks familiar. The butler bows politely as she enters, but Rosalind ignores all formalities and drops into a chair while staring out toward the gardens. She complains that preparations for the upcoming grand tour are painfully dull and admits that she wishes Vanessa could join them. After all, Vanessa generously let her stay at the castle before the trip, and every attempt to repay the favor has been firmly rejected. Blair reminds her that Count Somerset is rushing the marriage negotiations, so travel is out of the question. Rosalind looks horrified. Vanessa only graduated days ago, and already people are discussing her future husband as if her life belongs on a schedule. Blair watches the garden below and quietly remarks that perhaps marriage itself might eventually become Vanessa's path to freedom. These days, it is hardly unusual for nobles to maintain lovers outside marriage. Rosalind immediately tells him to stop talking nonsense. She values Vanessa too much to joke about her situation, and he should spend less time imagining scandals and more time remembering that his own engagement was entirely his choice. Blair falls silent. More than anyone, he understands exactly what she means. His gaze drifts back toward Vanessa, walking alone among the gardens, and for some reason the sight leaves him uneasy. Several days later, Liam and River Ross are standing near the garden shed when another noble carriage arrives at the estate. River recognizes the visitor immediately and remarks that today's candidate appears to be Count Roden. Apparently, the arrangement with Baron Howard has collapsed. Before Liam can respond, Mary arrives carrying drinks and casually states that Baron Howard was actually the better option. That sentence alone is enough to make both men stare at her. River asks how anyone could possibly reach that conclusion. Mary hands them their cups and explains that Count Roden's reputation is genuinely terrifying. He has been married multiple times, yet nobody seems entirely certain where his previous wives ended up. Rumors follow him everywhere. Some claim he sleeps with every maid in his household. Others insist he recently fathered a child with a war widow. A River nearly chokes on his drink. He cannot understand why any family would willingly arrange such a marriage. Mary lowers her voice and explains the ugly reality. Count Somerset's investments have failed one after another. The estate is struggling. The family's reputation is fading. At this point, the only valuable asset left is Vanessa herself. She glances toward the mansion and quietly adds that when the previous count and countess were alive, nobody could have imagined things would ever become this desperate. Across the garden, Vanessa is already enduring the meeting. Count Roden lounges comfortably beside Count Somerset while discussing her future as if she is not sitting right there. He laughs about how unbelievable it is that such a beautiful young woman was almost married off to a man over 70 years old. Count Somerset responds by saying they nearly missed out on an excellent match. Roden finds this hilarious. At one point, he casually pats Vanessa on the lap like someone inspecting furniture before purchase, and neither man seems to notice how uncomfortable she becomes. The conversation eventually shifts toward rumors about her friendship with the Winchester heir. Count Somerset immediately dismisses any concerns, assuring Roden that Vanessa has merely known the Winchester twins since childhood and that he has personally managed every aspect of her private life. Satisfied, Roden remarks that Autumn should provide plenty of time to prepare the wedding. Both men laugh and return to discussing business. Vanessa slowly raises her eyes. Across the estate grounds, beyond the flowers and hedges, she spots Liam standing near the garden shed. He is looking directly at her. His expression reveals absolutely nothing, yet somehow that makes it worse. For the first time all afternoon, she feels as though someone actually noticed what just happened. That evening, Liam is walking through the gardens when he hears footsteps approaching from behind. Vanessa catches up and immediately announces that they need to talk. Without even slowing down, Liam replies that he does not believe they have anything left to discuss. Vanessa refuses to accept that answer. She calls after him, rushes ahead, and plants herself directly in his path. Liam finally stops. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Then Vanessa gathers her courage and blurts out the last thing he expects to hear. "Do it again." Liam blinks. "Do what again?" Vanessa's face turns red, but she forces herself to continue. "Kiss me. This time, I'm sure I can do better." Liam simply stares at her. Of all the requests he anticipated today, a demand for a second attempt was nowhere on the list. "I'm sorry. Did she just ask for a performance review on a kiss she never even requested in the first place?" The realization hits him a second later, and suddenly the conversation has become far more dangerous than either of them intended. Vanessa insists she can do better this time, but Liam barely gives the statement any attention. He walks straight past her and casually remarks that repeating the kiss is not going to change anything, because she does not even attract him in that way. The response hits like a hammer. The panic immediately flashes across her face. She grabs his sleeve before he can leave and blurts out that the wedding date has already been set. By autumn, she will officially be married to Count Roden. This is no longer a distant possibility. It is happening. Liam turns back and tells her that if she is truly this desperate, she should simply find someone else instead of chasing him around the estate. Vanessa explains that she is barely allowed outside the castle grounds. Even within the estate, she is watched constantly. Liam suggests bringing someone in from outside. She explains that everyone entering the property is approved by her uncle. He suggests running away entirely. That answer finally causes her voice to soften. Her parents are buried nearby, and she is the only one who still visits them. Liam studies her for a moment before asking whether she truly intends to sacrifice her own future for the sake of the dead, allowing herself to become another piece of gossip consumed by high society. Trying a different approach, Vanessa asks whether he genuinely does not remember her. They used to play together as children. Liam pauses. At this point, he knows he should probably reveal that he is not River Ross at all. The problem is that if he tells her the truth, she will simply track down the real River Ross and make the exact same proposal. And knowing River, there is a frightening chance he would agree out of pure sympathy. Before Liam reaches a decision, Vanessa continues explaining herself. She knows the offer sounds insulting. The reason she approached him is because he is an outsider. He is not a noble. He has no title to lose. If a scandal erupts, the damage to his life should be minimal compared to hers. Liam raises an eyebrow and asks whether she would have approached him if he were a nobleman. Vanessa immediately shakes her head. If a wealthy noble became involved, her uncle would simply force a marriage and turn the situation into another transaction. That is exactly what she wants to avoid. Marriage means nothing unless it is with someone you truly love. Besides, once summer ends, all attention will fall on her alone. He will be gone. The scandal will remain behind. Gently taking his hand, she tells him that summer is short. Before long, everything will fade away. Liam stands quietly while considering his options. He could accept her proposal as the common gardener she believes him to be. He could reveal his true identity and intervene as a duke. Or he could walk away entirely and return to enjoying the peaceful vacation he came here for. The answer forming in his mind is embarrassingly simple. He is having fun. More importantly, this woman is the most interesting thing that has happened to him in a very long time. Before he can say anything, Vanessa suddenly stiffens and blurts out his name. Her voice is shaking. Liam asks what is wrong. She points frantically at herself and whispers that there is a spider. He tells her to slow down and explain. A second later, she drops to her knees and announces that she is certain the spider crawled inside her dress. Liam circles behind her and takes a look. After a few moments, he finds the supposed culprit and flicks it away. Vanessa immediately twists around and asks whether he got it. Liam tells her that she probably mistook a loose strand of hair for a spider. Vanessa refuses to believe him and insists he check properly because she is absolutely certain something went inside her clothes. Liam asks whether she seriously wants him to look further. To his surprise, she nods without hesitation. For a moment, he honestly cannot tell whether this is some elaborate attempt at flirting or whether she is simply that innocent. Either way, the situation has become dangerously awkward. Trying not to laugh, he leans closer and continues checking, while Vanessa waits nervously for confirmation that the terrifying invader is gone. The distance between them suddenly feels much smaller than before. The warm evening air grows strangely tense, and neither of them seems entirely sure what to do with the silence that follows. What began as another argument somehow ends with both of them standing far closer than either intended, and for the first time all day, neither one knows what to say next. Liam's hand remains on Vanessa's back as she softly calls his name. He tells her he cannot find any spider and asks whether they should stop there, but Vanessa quietly shakes her head. What begins as a search for an imaginary insect slowly turns into something neither of them expected. The distance between them disappears. A moment later, they are sharing another kiss, and the atmosphere becomes far more intimate than either originally planned. Vanessa finds herself struggling to reconcile the man standing before her with the childhood memories she carries. The River Ross, she remembers, was an energetic boy chasing her through gardens and getting left behind whenever she ran too fast. This man feels completely different, more confident, more difficult to understand, and despite herself, she cannot stop wondering which version is the real one. Eventually, Liam pulls back and studies her expression. He asks whether she is absolutely certain she will not end up crying over him once summer comes to an end. Vanessa remains silent for a moment. Liam suggests making a wager out of it. That finally earns a reaction. She immediately replies that nobody would ever fall for someone like him, which only makes him smile. The answer tells him far more than she intended. Still, he becomes serious enough to explain that he has no desire to complicate his life with responsibilities he has not prepared for. Vanessa asks whether he means that literally or if there is another reason behind the statement. Liam simply tells her she can satisfy that curiosity over time. If she truly intends to keep things simple and temporary, then perhaps they can enjoy the arrangement for what it is. As he gently holds her face, he reminds her that even this carries risks. A noble woman's reputation is fragile, and once damaged, it rarely recovers completely. Vanessa rises to her feet and decides that if they are going to do this, she wants one condition of her own. She extends her hand and tells him that while this arrangement lasts, they should treat it seriously. She does not want something shallow that disappears after a handful of meetings. If they are pretending to be together, then she wants it to feel real. Liam looks at her outstretched hand and cannot help finding the request strangely amusing. Out of everything she could have demanded, she chose sincerity. After a brief pause, he accepts the handshake. The moment feels unexpectedly formal. Somehow, that simple gesture makes the entire arrangement seem far more significant than the conversation that created it. Then Vanessa turns her face away, clearly embarrassed, and reminds him of the wager. She is completely